This is not just a moment of achievement. This is the beginning of a whole new dynasty. Chosen One, your ascension today will be a turning point, not only for yourself, but for all those who will come after you. The movement that began with you is leaving behind the ordinary and laying the foundations for a new legacy. It is time to break boundaries and usher in a new era. A generation will grow under your leadership, and your light will illuminate not only today, but also tomorrow. Get ready, write 111 in the comments now. Don't just be a spectator, be a part of the story. With your support, we will become a giant family of 5,000 people. Subscribe now, turn on notifications, and join us. Because this journey will change not only your destiny, but the destiny of your entire lineage. Some lives shine, like lanterns hung in the windows of a village on a moonless night. When their light appears, everyone feels the shift, even if they can't explain it. Picture a garden in the heart of winter, seemingly barren and quiet, until one morning a green shoot splits the frozen earth and everything changes. That's the kind of transformation carried by these rare souls. Not a loud spectacle, but a gentle awakening that makes an entire community aware that a new season is upon them. It isn't coincidence or luck, but the quiet work of the Spirit moving beneath the surface, calling them out of ordinary soil and into a story that stretches further than any single lifetime. They are not just another name in the family tree, they're the first sign of spring after a long, hard winter. The evidence that something is about to blossom where nothing was expected. You see, when God puts his hand on someone in this way, he doesn't just give them a bigger basket. He changes the kind of seed they're allowed to carry. Others are busy trading short-term rewards, but these chosen ones are entrusted with seeds of legacy. Their whole life becomes a kind of field, sometimes plowed under by disappointment, sometimes overlooked by others, but always watched over by the master gardener who knows the value of one strong root system. And though the world might not understand what's stirring underground, the chosen feel it, an inner quickening, a deep certainty that something is coming, even if nobody else hears it yet. The truth is, these people are the answer to prayers whispered long before they were born. The faith of their ancestors, the tears shed by those who came before, the dreams postponed for decades, all of it becomes fuel for this moment. They don't step onto the stage of life to repeat the same mistakes or maintain the status quo. Instead, they move with the quiet authority of someone who knows that every sacrifice they make now will build a bridge for others who thought they'd never cross. The blessings coming through them aren't just for comfort, they're for construction, laying down spiritual highways so that future generations can walk further, faster, and freer than those before. Don't just read the stories, experience them, subscribe, and step inside. It's not always obvious from the outside. Sometimes the world sees only the struggle, the nights spent worrying over bills, the losses that pile up, the doors that seem to stay shut no matter how hard they pray. But God sees the blueprint being drawn inside them, the slow work of turning setbacks into stepping stones. While others are content to chase what glitters, these souls are driven by a vision that keeps them up at night, a longing not just to make a living, but to make a difference. They hunger for more than comfort. They want to see healing break out like sunlight on fields long left fallow. And their courage is contagious, calling others to believe that a new chapter is possible. The world can be quick to overlook what doesn't shine at first glance. It's easy to ignore a seed buried in the dirt, but the Spirit knows what's coming, a harvest that's been prepared for in hidden seasons. That's why chosen ones often feel misunderstood, carrying a weight nobody else can see, drawn into deserts so God can teach them how to find water when everyone else is thirsty. Every test, every loss, every time they had to start over becomes another ring in the tree of their legacy, proof that storms can shape but never destroy what God has planted. Their influence, then, is not measured by applause, but by the fruit their life produces, the kindness that keeps showing up after disappointment, the faith that keeps praying for those who once doubted them, the wisdom that grows deeper every time they forgive instead of holding on to hurt. Their reward is not in the headlines, but in the generations that rise up long after they're gone and find shade under the tree their courage helped to grow. So don't underestimate the power of one life fully surrendered to a divine assignment. When heaven chooses someone to be the rainmaker for a dry family line, it rarely happens all at once. It's a process of plowing, sowing, watering, and waiting, sometimes through seasons where nothing seems to change. But just as sure as spring follows winter, the promise unfolds. Others will see the orchard, but only God and the chosen will remember the faith it took to plant in the cold. And when their time comes to hand off the baton, the work isn't finished, it's multiplied. The roots go deeper, the branches reach further, and the blessing that started as a single seed becomes a living inheritance, not a fleeting fortune, but a legacy of courage, faithfulness, and transformation, one that turns barren places into gardens, darkness into dawn, and silence into songs of gratitude. This is what it means to be truly chosen, to become a wellspring in a world of drought, to invest in what outlasts a single lifetime, to lay down stones, not for monuments, but for pathways of freedom. No, it's not random. It's a divine assignment, written in the language of miracles and manifested in the daily choices to trust, to build, to believe when others give up hope. And when the story is finally told, the greatest testimony will not be what they gathered, but what they gave. The lives made better, the burdens lifted, the future forever changed because they chose to answer the call. Think of a lantern quietly burning in a window while a storm rages outside, casting steady light into the darkness, even when no one sees the hand tending the flame. That's how the path unfolds for those who were never made to blend into the background of history, but to become pillars others lean on. The journey is never a gentle stroll on level ground. It's more like a climb up a rugged mountain, boots muddy and hands raw, often in the dead of night, when no applause can be heard and only the stars are witness. For these uncommon hearts, the cost of the calling was never counted in silver or status, but in long nights awake, laying burdens down before a God who sees every silent cry. While the world spun in pursuit of applause, their strength grew in places no spotlight could reach. They learned how to plant seeds in hard soil, how to water faith in a drought, and how to tend hope in places where others only saw abandonment. It's easy for outsiders to mistake this season as stagnation or wasted effort. But what looked like stillness was a sacred preparation, roots reaching deep when storms threatened to topple everything. Instead of chasing what sparkled on the surface, they learned the value of a quiet heart, of gentleness that holds steady when storms howl, of mercy that pours out even when the cup feels empty. Their sacrifices, the kind nobody celebrates, the gestures that cost everything but bring no worldly reward, became the hidden framework for a future no one could see but heaven. In the early hours when sleep wouldn't come, they whispered prayers into the darkness, trusting that every word mattered, that every tear was being kept as a promise. They carried the pain of unanswered questions and yet kept showing up, not just for themselves, but for those they were called to lift. While some built reputations, these chosen ones built character. Their hands, often empty of luxury, were full of unseen blessing. What looked like loss to others was actually the making of a foundation so strong, future generations could stand on it without fear. The wisdom they gathered wasn't bought or taught in any classroom. It was mined in the silent valleys, refined in the shadows of misunderstanding, and crowned by a joy that doesn't depend on circumstance. They learned that true power is found not in what you own, but in what you give away. They discovered that real legacy isn't counted in possessions, but in the lives healed, the burdens lifted, and the courage passed down like an heirloom. Every yes they spoke in secret, every refusal to quit when the odds were stacked, every generous act done when nobody watched. These became the building blocks of a story far bigger than personal comfort. Theirs is the kind of impact that ripples through families, communities, and even nations, transforming heartache into hope and wounds into wisdom. So when history asks how healing found its way into broken places, let it be known. It began with the souls who quietly bore more than their share, who traded what was easy for what was eternal. Their journey is a living sermon, proof that even in the hardest seasons, when faith flickers and tears flow, the seeds of destiny are growing just beneath the surface, waiting for the light of a new dawn. Every story hides a secret. Subscribe and become a seeker with us. Imagine a field that's been dry and bare for years, until one day a single seed is pressed into the earth, looked over by most, but seen by the gardener who knows what's possible. That's the moment when a hidden shift begins. There comes a time when old roads crumble beneath the feet, and instead of fearing the unknown, these chosen ones start to see wide-open landscapes where they once only saw barriers. Change is not a threat, but an invitation, an open gate where fences once stood, and a fresh wind that carries the scent of new beginnings. It's as if the soil of their story, once parched by the sun of hardship and disappointment, finally receives a gentle rain. Instead of shrinking from the storm, they let it water the dreams that had been waiting beneath the surface all along. Suddenly, surviving is no longer enough. They dare to imagine something bigger than making ends meet. They begin to design futures, not just for themselves, but for everyone who will come after. The old question, "Will I have enough?" fades in the rearview mirror, replaced by a new vision. How can I use what I've been given to plant, to build, to multiply? Every ache, every tear shed in silence, every moment that felt like a setback is transformed in the hands of the master planner. Pain, once an enemy, becomes an ally, softening the ground, making room for roots to reach deeper and shoots to reach higher. It's this holy transaction, where what hurt is turned into what heals, that marks the beginning of legacy. These souls realize that their greatest struggles were never just obstacles, but raw materials in the building of something eternal. Instead of counting losses, they start counting lessons. Instead of lamenting what fell apart, they gather the broken pieces and use them to pave new paths. Every scar, every closed door, every detour is woven into a tapestry that future generations will call the way through. Where others see the end, these visionaries see the start of something sacred, an orchard that will feed and shelter many, a blueprint for transformation that outlives their own years. The air is filled now with possibility. They walk with confidence, not born of certainty, but of trust, the deep knowing that what's being built with love and sacrifice can never be taken away. As gardeners of destiny, they tend what was planted in secret, believing that what blooms in the quiet will one day bless the world in ways no eye has seen and no ear has heard. In this, even the harshest pain finds purpose, and every surrendered struggle is redeemed as the soil of a legacy that cannot be erased. Think of the soul as a vessel shaped on a potter's wheel. At first, the clay is pressed, squeezed, and spun, its old shape collapsing again and again under unseen hands. Loss in those beginning days felt like that steady pressure, doors slamming shut, opportunities slipping away, cherished faces fading from view, and each goodbye echoing in the quiet. It seemed for a time as if the universe was stripping everything bare, leaving nothing but emptiness and longing for what might have been. But as each piece fell away, the hands of the potter worked deeper, hollowing out a place that could hold more than anyone ever imagined. Rejection was not the end. It was a careful scooping out, making room for a future that required space. Closed doors weren't a final verdict. They were training, a curriculum written in the language of heartbreak and hope, teaching the chosen to hold on to faith even as comfort disappeared. As the world called it loss, heaven saw it as preparation. Every season that felt like wandering in a wilderness was actually drawing out impurities. Like fire purifies gold, the heat of betrayal and the loneliness of empty rooms refined character, burning away what could not last and leaving behind only what was true and strong. In the darkness, a quiet wisdom took root, teaching how to let go of pride and carry abundance with humility. It's in these seasons of being poured out, over and over, that a new capacity was formed, not just to receive blessings, but to hold them without being owned by them. The chosen learned how to walk with open hands, remembering always who shaped the vessel and where the water came from. They discovered the sacred art of gratitude, turning every gift into praise and every gain into a reason to give back. As abundance finally began to flow, their souls were anchored, not in what they had, but in who they had become through the journey. In this way, what started as punishment was revealed to be pruning. The emptiness became a container for grace, and the story of loss was rewritten as the making of a spirit that could carry much, yet remain gentle and grounded, always mindful of the one who had shaped it. Picture a wellspring rising from deep within the earth, not a sudden storm, not a passing wave, but a steady, living river flowing out to nourish all it touches. That's what true increase looks like in the life of the chosen. Not a mountain of treasure kept in a vault, but a stream that winds its way through dry and desperate places, bringing healing where roots had nearly withered away. When the moment of breakthrough arrives, it does not come dressed in fireworks or parade banners. It shows up as a sacred invitation, a calling to become a conduit, not just a collector. Those who receive such blessing understand that the river is never meant to pool up and stagnate. It must keep moving, seeking out the low places and parched lands, revitalizing what others abandoned as hopeless. The gifts and resources that finally arrive are not badges to be worn, but seeds to be sown. Each new opportunity, every open door, is a tool for setting captives free, repairing broken foundations, and planting orchards where there used to be wasteland. This wealth is not interested in vanity or show. It measures its worth by what it restores, not by what it flaunts. And so, the chosen step into this abundance with trembling hands, knowing that the true measure of prosperity is not comfort, but impact. It's the gravity of stewardship that sits heavier than any crown. The awareness that every dollar, every talent, every moment is charged with holy purpose. Prosperity, in this sense, is never an end. It is a sacred responsibility, an answer to prayers whispered in the dark, a vessel meant to overflow, watering the fields of those still waiting for their harvest. Justice, compassion, and restoration become the landmarks along this river's journey. For these souls, the breakthrough is not just a victory. It is a commissioning to build, to heal, and to be the very answer that someone else has been hoping for. Imagine an old oak tree, its roots stretching wide and deep beneath the surface, drawing life from generations of soil it never saw. That's what it means to build for legacy. The foundation isn't laid on empty ground, but on the accumulated prayers, silent tears, and sacrifices of those who came before. Every step forward isn't just a victory for today. It's an answer to yesterday's longing and tomorrow's promise. The ones walking this way are more than architects of their own lives. They are restorers of bridges that others watch collapse and finishers of dreams abandoned by time. The weight they carry is not simply their own ambition, but the longing of their bloodline for release, healing, and justice. Their hands, which once reached for hope in scarcity, now grasp the blueprints of new beginnings. They know what it is to feel empty and still give thanks. They remember what it is to have doors slammed shut and still build a new entryway. While some only see obstacles, brick walls, closed gates, shattered plans, these souls glimpse the hidden scaffolding beneath the struggle. Where many see an ending, they recognize an unfinished chapter. It's not the ease of their journey that defines them, but their refusal to abandon the project when others would have walked away. They carry inside a vision seeded by countless lifetimes, a resolve to be the hands that finally complete what so many started. For them, progress is not just marked in material gain or fleeting applause. It's measured in moments when they choose faith over fear, generosity over hoarding, and hope over resignation. The tools they wield now, vision, wisdom, and the courage to begin again, were forged in hardship, but empowered by the certainty that their work matters beyond their own span of years. Where the world keeps records of personal achievement, these chosen ones count victories by how many lives are touched, how many stories are redeemed, and how many broken places are transformed into foundations for the next generation. It's like a farmer with sacred seeds in his pocket. Every passing season brings offers to sell the field, to take the quick payout, to uproot the soil for a faster return. But the true steward refuses, knowing deep down that what's planted in this earth was never meant for a single harvest, but for a legacy of orchards that will feed generations to come. That is the quiet confidence of those chosen to build something eternal. Money becomes a mere tool, not the goal, and wealth is measured in the lives that blossom from every act of obedience. Along their journey, doors swung open with promises of abundance, yet each tempting offer came with a cost, a price not worth the surrender of calling. Every time they turned away from an easy path, they invested in a promise greater than any fleeting reward. It wasn't about turning down comfort for suffering's sake. It was about trusting the voice inside that said, "Wait, what you're building can't be rushed, can't be bartered, can't be compromised." The patience that others mistook for hesitation was actually faith at work, planting deeper roots for a later harvest. Seasons of obscurity became seasons of preparation. What looked like missed opportunities were actually divine detours, shielding the soul from distractions that might have wasted the inheritance meant for many. Each time the world measured worth in gold, these chosen ones measured it in the children who would laugh in safe homes, in the elders who would eat at restored tables, in the communities revived by generosity rather than greed. Every quiet no was an invisible stone in the foundation of something much bigger: a school, a shelter, a ministry, a movement. True prosperity, in the eyes of these builders, isn't counted in columns or portfolios, but in the stories of transformation that echo long after the money is spent. Their riches are found in every dream that rises from the dust, every spirit rekindled by hope, and every future made possible because they said yes to the slow work of love. That is what it means to prosper with purpose, to walk by faith, and to sow seeds whose fruit they may never taste, but whose shade will shelter generations still to come. Imagine a candle set in a storm. While the winds whip and the world expects the flame to flicker out, the wax simply melts deeper and the light grows fiercer, casting warmth across the darkness that cannot understand its source. That's what it's like to be one of the chosen in this world. They're not here just to keep the lamp burning for themselves. They're here to bring light to houses that forgot what hope feels like. Their journey has never been smooth, but it has always been significant. While some stroll on easy streets, these chosen souls seem to be handed uphill roads and unexpected detours. But every closed door is not a curse. It's a redirection from above, saving them for a greater hour, sheltering gifts that need maturing before they're revealed to the world. Their setbacks are not punishments, but reminders that what is sacred must sometimes be hidden until the time is right. The world might count their slow progress as failure, might dismiss the lack of shiny rewards, but the eyes of heaven see every sacrifice, every silent offering, every midnight prayer. Where others might spend their lives stockpiling riches or collecting praise, these souls are in the business of building something eternal. Their reputation isn't written on gold plaques or magazine covers, but on the hearts they touch and the futures they secure with every good deed done in secret. When the world sees lack, heaven sees investment, each act of patience, every time they put another's need ahead of their own, every dollar given when they didn't know how the next bill would be paid. If you love a good mystery, subscribe for the untold truths of Scripture. The truth is, it's not their bank account the darkness fears, it's the ripple of their goodness. It's the way their hope refuses to die, the way their vision finds a way through fog, the way their faith walks ahead even when the path is hidden. Resistance is not a sign of abandonment. It's the pressure that forms diamonds in the rough. In every struggle, these chosen builders discover a deeper reservoir of courage, and in every delay, they find a chance to sow seeds that only heaven keeps track of. They have become spiritual gardeners in a world obsessed with shortcuts, planting love, trust, and truth in soils others overlook, confident that one day the smallest seed will split stone and reach the sunlight. And in the end, when their story is told, it won't be the storms that define them, but the light that outlasted every night. In the quietest moments, when the applause fades and the spotlight dims, their legacy takes root. Those who persist through dry seasons and lonely battles are the ones who carry the blueprint for what's possible. Their wealth is not found in what they keep, but in what they give away. Their influence, not in the number of eyes watching, but in the lives transformed by their willingness to say yes when it would have been easier to say no. For them, purpose has always outweighed popularity, and service has always outlasted selfishness. What emerges from such a life is not a monument to ego, but a foundation for others. The legacy they are building will stand long after the world has forgotten their name. Every stone laid in secret, every prayer whispered over an unknown future, becomes part of an unbreakable structure, a sanctuary for all who will one day shelter within its walls. And when the final chapter is written, it will not be about riches, but about the lives set free, the cycles broken, and the blessings multiplied beyond measure.